I'd like to welcome you to this. I looked on the calendar, and it's actually our 8th Seniors Count workshop that we've held since February of this year. My name is Beth Todgham. I'm the Nashua Community Coordinator for Southern New Hampshire Services. I'm also the Seniors Count Facilitator. Seniors Count is a collaborative effort here in the community, a working group of individuals and organizations who have come together to try to address some of the needs of seniors in our community. And one thing we found out is that there was a need for educational workshops, for information, so as people get older and start worrying and thinking about things that are coming up in their lives, that they'd have the information that they needed to get started. So that's how these workshops developed. And I just want to introduce Suzanne Harvey. She's a former Ward 2 State Representative. She served 3 terms in Concord, and one of her claims to fame while she was there, she was primary in doing a bill that yeah, I'm sorry. I'll let her say it. I'm sorry. I'm just I can't read it. I'm too vain to put my glasses on. But she also serves with me on the Cooperative Extension Advisory Council for Hillsborough County. And when we were looking for someone to do a presentation on how to talk to your elected officials, Suzanne came right to the top of the heap, and I'm very pleased to have her with us today. So enjoy the presentation, and if you have questions, just feel free to ask them, and hopefully you'll leave here knowing more than when you came in. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you all for coming. I assume many of you are interested in being here because you do want to be an advocate, you are already an advocate, or the topic just perked your interest. The first thing I'd like to know is, who here uses a computer regularly? Not everybody. Okay. Some of what I'll show you will be computer oriented. You could always go to the library and check things out in the library with their computers, but you also have a lot of information here that you can still contact your elected officials without using a computer. So let's get started with the first slide. Advocate, and you're saying to yourself, who, me? What? Why me? So some of the questions I'd like to answer today are, when do I advocate? Why should I? Where? How? What's in it for me? Advocate for whom? For what? To whom? Who should I talk to? And how can I really be effective? And the basic thing that I really want to get across today is how to find your voice to advocate for either an issue, a candidate, a bill up in Concord or in the United States Congress or Senate. So we're going to cover all layers of government. We're going to go from, we're covering Fed, state, and local government. And of course, if you have an issue that you want to advocate for, it may not touch the government sector at all. It may just be a group that you want to advocate with, let's say the Alzheimer's Association. So you get involved with them, and that comes to mind because my mom has Alzheimer's and I am her advocate. So let's look at the second slide. Truly believe that advocacy starts at home. The most basic type is when you're advocating for yourself or for a loved one. Many of you have probably done it already, the way I'm doing it for my mom. During the period of illness or a lot of stress, maybe unemployment, this is when advocacy really comes in to the fore. Because let's say if you have, you're going to the doctor and you're waiting for test results and you're really worried, you should bring someone with you, not only to be your advocate for a second ear so that everything the doctor says is really heard. And if you're advocating for someone else, you can figure out what your role is. When I go see my mom at the Greenbrier, I make sure I touch base with the nurses, how's she doing, what's up? And it's that kind of thing that's just an everyday kind of advocacy that we have in our lives. And that's separate from political, but it's something that you've probably all done already, so advocacy is not new to you. And there is more to being an advocate. Step 1, vote. Everybody has to vote. Everybody over 18 who's an American citizen should vote. And I don't care if it's a local election, a state election, a federal election. I think it's really important. I remember the days when I would look at the ballot. This goes back a couple of decades. I had no idea who the local people were and who my state people were, and I didn't vote that line. I only voted top of the line, and that is not doing your duty as a citizen. I truly believe you need to study up on who's running, what they stand for, what the issues are if you have a ballot that's has questions on it rather than just candidates. We don't get that too much in Nashua, but the towns do. Does anybody here live in the towns? Sometimes there's pages and pages of issues on some of the, especially the SB2 towns. So this is the beginning of really your participation in civic life. Now, the first thing to ask yourself is, what issues are important to me? And I just picked some general things that people care about. Healthcare, maybe the roads in the city, there's something that bothers you, too many potholes or something. And that's healthcare, anything, that covers a whole lot of stuff, you know that. Maybe taxes, this is a US, but it might be any level of taxes. Housing, maybe you've got a housing issue that's really important to you. It could be any one of a number of things that really get your goat and that you really care deeply about. That's your issue. Does your voice matter? Some people say, I'll let others do it. Well, no, you are other. You're them. You're the people who should be raising your voices. Some people say, I don't need to vote. It's only a local election. Who cares? Or my guy's way ahead. I don't have to show up and vote. He doesn't need my vote. She doesn't need my vote. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Local elections do matter. What happens at the Board of Aldermen does matter. Alderman Sheehan is here. She can tell you how much it matters. Thank you for coming. Or you might say, well, I tried my Congress's telephone in Washington. The line is busy. Maybe I'll call back later. Well, no. You stay by that phone and keep on dialing because you're not going to do it later. And it's really, really important that if you want your voice to be heard, you have to raise your voice, period. Okay. How do you make it heard? How do you make that voice heard? Local, state, and federal levels. And how do you know which issue is covered at which level? I'll give you an example. The very first time I went out knocking on doors when I was campaigning for the State House, it was 2004. And so many people, when I asked them, what's your issue? What's important to you? They would, and I'd say, what state issues? I would specifically say that. And they'd say, the war. I want to get out of this war. It's ridiculous. And I say, well, we don't deal with that in Concord. So one of the first things you have to know if you're going to contact one of your elected officials is, who's the right one? This is my issue. Who does it match up with? And what body really takes care of what issue? So contact who? This is a quiz for you guys. The street I live on has too many potholes or it needs a stop sign. Who do you call? Right. I need to tell my elected official how I feel about the war. Congressman, senator. They're planning to increase the gas tax by how much, damn it? State, right. I'm having trouble getting my benefits. Federal. Right, good. You guys are on it. Next. Many of you may not know that the New Hampshire, the general court, the term general court, is an umbrella term for the New Hampshire House and Senate. Together, it's called the general court. And they have a website. You have a handout with a separate handout from the presentation that has all of the website addresses It's where the DC delegation is on top, and the bottom has all the web addresses of what we're covering today. The General Court website is where you could find LSRs. That stands for Legislative Service Request. And every year the members of the House and the Senate in New Hampshire can file bills, as many as they want. Typically between the House and Senate, and that represents 424 people, there's about 1,000 bills a year. Every bill in New Hampshire gets a hearing, if we're doing it right. Every bill gets a hearing, unlike Congress in DC, where a chair of a committee can kill a bill before it's even heard. But in New Hampshire, thank goodness, we have a really democratic constitution, and every bill gets a fair hearing. So the General Court website is I think it's the only place where you can actually find LSRs, and I can't see it right now, but it's here somewhere. It's too late for me. And that's only up for a certain period of time. Once an LSR, which just has a title, once it's a full bill that's signed off by the sponsor and co-sponsors, then it gets a bill number, and it's no longer an LSR. So for a certain amount of time, including right now, you can see what LSRs have been put in by the current elected folks up in Concord. And if you look at the titles, they won't necessarily give you an inkling as to what the bill is about. Some of them do, and some of them don't. And to file an LSR, you don't need a whole lot of information, but once they become a bill, then you could check it out.
I think it's over here, Legislative Services, would that be right?
Oh, yeah, right there. No, that's Legislative Services is...
Under the dashboard it says find your bill, but that's not what you...
Dashboard. Here's 2012 bill requests, LSRs, that's it, right there, yeah. Yeah, Legislative Services is basically the group of lawyers who write the bills. Anyway, okay. This is the New Hampshire government. Okay, so that's the General Court. Like I said, it's an umbrella for both the House and the Senate.
Do we have the website in here?
Yes, yes. Let's go to the House of Representatives. To first the screen, and then the website. Yeah, this one. This is the website for the House of Representatives, and one of the things that's really good for everyone to know about if you want to know what's going on in Concord, and I will repeat something that I've been saying for years. What happens in Concord sometimes, often, affects us, our daily lives, more than what happens in Washington, D.C. And a lot of people don't realize that because they don't know what's going on in Concord on any given year. But a lot of the bills we deal with and pass, only about a third of them, I think, actually get passed, but out of the 1,000. And some of them are tiny little tweaks to existing statutes in the New Hampshire statute law. But some of them are brand new, and a lot of them are little tweaks to the language. But it's on the House of Representatives website, you can actually find a bill by number or by sponsor. You can find your legislator right here. Click on that, and then it'll prompt you to say where you're from, and they'll tell you who your legislators are. Almost everyone has, certainly in Nashua, most of you are from Nashua. So the wards have generally 3 state representatives, 1 state senator, and wards 5, 8, and 9 currently have 10 representatives among the 3 wards. So that means in November, when you're voting, minimum of 6 people probably will be running for the State House. You'll see the Republicans and the Democrats running, and then you get 3 votes, and whatever top 3 get the top 3 votes, those are your next officials up in the House. The other thing you can find here are committees and committee members. If you have a particular issue that a particular committee deals with, I'll tell you one of the hot bills a couple of years ago was speeding limits on Lake Winnipesaukee. Got more mail on that than almost anything from all over the state because everybody uses the lake. So if you want to find out which committee has that bill, you can do it from this site. And then you could send out an email to every member of the committee. So let's go to the next one. This is just and you'll see it on your list of slides. This is just a close-up to that upper left-hand part of the House website. So it'll show you, you can look at the House homepage, calendars and journal. Calendars. Every week during session, the House and Senate publish a calendar. The calendar covers every committee meeting, when it is, where it is, and what bills they're hearing. And if it's coming up for a vote on Wednesday, which is usually session day when the whole House gets together, there's a little blurb. If the bill's already been heard, there's a blurb and voted on by the committee. There's a blurb that will explain the bill for the rest of the House members to read and consider. Sometimes there's a floor debate, sometimes there isn't, so you're just basically voting on that blurb if you haven't read the bill. But the House calendar is a really good thing to go to from this page. You can always find out what's happening in Concord by that calendar. The Senate has a calendar as well. And once January starts, it'll be pretty much weekly. The first few weeks, there aren't too many sessions the first few weeks in January because all the committees are meeting and having their hearings on the first scheduled bills. But so they have to have a hearing, and then within a certain amount of time, the chair of the committee will call a executive session that's also noted. People can come up and the public's always open, invited to come up to Concord and sit in on just about anything. We do have an open government, but you can come up during a hearing and say something if you want. You can testify, but during executive session, you cannot. It's only for the members of the committee. At the chair's discretion, they could call an expert if they still have questions, but that's about it. But everything, all these meetings are supposed to be posted in the calendar. Sometimes the meeting is decided to be scheduled like a day before something. It must be posted at least in the State House 24 hours in advance. But pretty much the calendar will tell you everything that's going on. So it's a really good resource. Also, on the House, I don't know about the Senate, but on the House website, you can also listen and watch the sessions on Wednesdays. There's streaming media. There's one right here, streaming media. You click on that, and if you do it during session, which usually starts at 10 o'clock on Wednesdays, starting sometime in later January, usually, you can actually watch, listen. It's a tiny little box, the video part, that doesn't fill the screen, but you can hear it. And then you could, when the session's over, it's still online. You can go back and listen to past ones also. And that's a very valuable thing to have. That's fairly new in the last couple of years, that you can actually listen in. Okay, next slide. The Senate. This is the Senate website. As you can see, it says the Senate currently not in session. And when it is, this is a much busier website. But you still can find out who the members of the Senate are. Look at the calendars, if you click on that. The newsroom probably has Senate press releases, just like on the House one, legislation. And you can always find out who represents you. And I didn't write down any state folks, on that extra handout, I just wrote our federal delegation. But once you get on a computer, you could find out just about anything you want. I don't think we need to look at that. All right, next we're going to go to, here's our city website, our mayor. And on the city website, I wonder if it would come out better if we looked at the, I don't know if it would or not, but no, you can find almost anything you want about the city on the city website. You can find out who's your alderman. I gave you a handout of all the aldermen for the city. But here you can look at, under city government, you'll find departments, the mayor's office, boards and commissions, board of aldermen, city directory to talk to one particular person. So it's a very, very useful site. And if you do have a local issue, I highly recommend you talk to your alderman about it and get some advocacy on their part too for your issue. So the next slide is just a copy of the of all of the aldermen and how to contact them and what ward. And if by any chance you don't know what ward you're in or where you vote, you could find it out on the website as well. Okay, next we're going to move to Washington, D.C. Contacting your delegation member. And you have the list of who's in office right now. We are in the second congressional district. So Representative Charlie Bass is our congressman. Frank Ginta represents the first CD, which is a little, some part of slice of Manchester. I think Manchester actually includes both districts, but and most of the north. So the south has most of the population and is a smaller, geographically is smaller. But anyway, so we have 2 congressmen, 2 senators, and all their information is here for you. How to get in touch with them in Washington, how to get in touch with them in Nashua. They all have offices. So you can visit their local office just about every day. Outside of Senator Shaheen's office on Main Street, you'll see people holding signs about stopping the war. That's advocacy. If you have an issue, if you have a federal issue, the best thing to do if you want to actually contact them is to visit the local office. Call in advance is good, but not necessary. You really need to know when their office hours are and that someone will be there. The person you see in the local office may not be the person, or likely is not the person who's going to have your answers, but they will find out who is, either locally or in DC, in the DC office. So they will have that person contact you. And I'm sure in the offices in DC, the staffs are broken out into different areas of concern. So they will put you in contact with the right person. You can call the DC office to voice your concern, and again, there, if the right person's available, they'll patch you into that person. And you could always write or email to voice your concern. One thing I want to say about emails, and this goes for probably all 3 levels of government, and I definitely saw it in the legislature. A lot of times on a big issue, a big controversial issue especially, there's an email that goes around that everybody just copies and pastes and copies and pastes. And as a representative, I would get, maybe dozens of the same email from different people. The first thing I did is see if that person lived in my district. If they didn't, I didn't answer them. If they did, I almost always answered them. But what matters more is when you write your own copy. When you write from the heart how you feel about an issue. I'm going to read that. Someone else is going to, the other representatives are going to read those a lot more than they will the boilerplate ones that everybody sends. Because once you read one or two, say, oh, it's this one again. Numbers do matter. I mean, it does matter, even if you get dozens of the boilerplate ones. But when someone takes the time to write something that they really feel passionately about, it's going to get read. Next slide. Okay, how do you communicate effectively with your DC delegation? Like I said, call, visit, or write. Prepare notes first if you're going to call, because you don't want to ramble on. You want to get to the point. You want to really make sure that the person who answers the phone understands what your main point is or your main concern. Otherwise, they don't know how to direct your call. Be specific, like I said. Be polite. The person you speak with is just a staff member. They're not the ones who have the vote. It's their boss who has the vote. So be polite, and you'll get a lot further. If you're angry, you're not going to be articulate. Don't be angry at that person. They're just a staff person. Be as concise as possible. Don't ramble. And take notes when you do get to the person, the right person for the issue. Take notes on your conversation so you remember, and if there's any kind of follow-up on their part or your part, you'll know, you'll have it in your notes. Sample issues for aldermen. Now we're moving to the local level. Neighborhood issues, anything in the neighborhood. And I would suggest, if it's a neighborhood issue, gather signatures of your neighbors. It'll be a lot more powerful to give to your alderman or to the board of aldermen, 30 people who really care about the same thing, and that'll make a difference. So these are sample issues. Local taxes, how to get local help, for instance, legal advocate. Parking issues, organizing a crime watch. These are just a couple of issues. I did speak with Diane a couple of weeks ago, and these are some of the examples she came up with that the aldermen deal with, especially on a one-to-one basis with their constituents. Giving testimony at aldermanic meetings. This is a lot more powerful than writing an email or a letter. First of all, you have to know when your issue is scheduled on the agenda. You probably can follow that on the city website when you look at the Board of Aldermen's particular site, from the city site. Might be helpful, I think, and this is what I would do. I would contact my alderman before and convince him or her to be an advocate for the issue I care about. Let them know in advance that you're going to come up there, you're going to come to City Hall that night and give testimony on this issue that you care about, and you hope that he or she will back you up in discussion. Because they may not know who you are. You just get up and say hi, and you do give your address, but it may not click. And but if you alert them ahead of time that you're in their ward, I think it would be very powerful. Again, make notes if anybody says something that is important to your issue. And again, be concise, don't ramble, and speak from the heart. Okay, this is not something that the national organizations say, this is an issue, and this is what you say. You might have talking points, but make it your own. Just make it your own. It'll show, and it'll mean a lot more. Okay. And this is a quote from Diane. Be part of the process to find a solution. You don't need to start with a solution. I think that's really important to know, that you don't have to come to your alderman with the answer. You just need to come with a concern. And they will tell you what's possible, whether they'll work with you or not on it, and you can go from there. But you don't need the answers just going in. That's not your job. Okay. Now back to state reps, communicating with them. Again, you could call, write, or email. Home telephone is okay. Some people, now that we have answering machines and we could block calls and whatever, you won't always get an answer, but you could leave a message and say, I'm so-and-so, and I live at blah, blah, blah. I'm one of your constituents, and this is really important to me. This vote coming up in your committee, I really would like you to vote this way, and this is why. So their home telephones, almost every one of them is listed on the state website, And there is a blue book that you can buy that comes out every 2 years with when the legislature turns over, that has information about every one of them. It's about $35 or something, but everything's available on the web. And there's only a handful of them, at least when I was in the House, that didn't include their personal address or telephone number. Again, they receive a deluge of emails on hot topics. Obviously, the social issues, we get tons and tons and tons of emails. And a lot of them are boilerplate, the same ones. The ones that are written individually, I always read. And they did mean more. So use your own words, talk right from the heart, and be concise. Don't ramble because it's not going to get read. Hopefully, every time you contact any elected official, you'll get a response. From DC, you'll get a boilerplate response by mail, and we all know that, we've all gotten that. But not always so in the House. I always made sure to give a specific answer to someone who emailed me and or called me, and it's you know, a lot. I've talked to nursing students who were interested in healthcare issues about contacting people up in Concord, and a lot of times younger people are a little intimidated. But think about the New Hampshire House. We're your neighbors. There's 400 of us. We get $100 a year. You know, whoop. But everyone pretty much works very hard. They're doing it because they want to. And, you know, you can call them on the house, in their house. You may not know them personally, but that's okay. Whether you voted for them or not, they represent you up in Concord. And I just think, you know, we're just you guys. I mean, I'm not there anymore, but the House is 400 people. And it's unlikely that you could live in New Hampshire a long time and not know someone personally who either ran or got in to the House or Senate. So again, I keep repeating this. Use your own words, talk right from the heart, and be concise. Okay. Giving testimony in Concord. I really urge you on issues that are important to you. If you can get up to Concord and go to the State House and you follow the calendar to see when your bill that you're interested in is coming up for hearing, you go up. You don't have to announce yourself. I mean, you don't have to do it in advance. You just show up in the room that the hearing's happening. And, you know, you follow the calendar. You find out when the hearing date is. If your rep is on the committee, and this you should find out before you go, you could find it on the House website or Senate website, let them know you're coming up. Say, I'm your constituent, I'm coming up, this is my issue, your committee's hearing it on Thursday, and I'm going to testify. And I really hope that you'll be friendly to me in asking questions, and that you'll consider my feelings about this issue seriously. So I would try to get that rep on your side. Bring copies of written testimony to the committee hearing for the members. Generally, it's 20, at most maybe 22. To be safe, bring 25, because the secretary of the committee always keeps maybe 2 for the file. So committees vary, like 18, 20 people, 21, something like that. And it's good to hand out your copies just before you're called. So you go up, you look in, you get to the right committee room. There are these little cards to fill out that says you want to speak or that you're for or against the bill, and try to keep it to 3 minutes. Hopefully you don't have to read what you want to say. You're just going to talk from your heart. And this is really important. At the State House, your testimony as a citizen means a whole lot more than hearing testimony from the lobbyists. We hear from the lobbyists all the time, in committee, in the cafeteria, at home, you name it, at the store, walking down Main Street in Concord. We hear from the lobbyists all the time. Some of them, what they have to say is quite valuable, quite educational, and you really actually count on hearing from them. to really learn the issue, but you got to listen with a third ear and say, okay, all right. But when you guys come up, all the ears perk up. You're a citizen who has taken the time to come up and testify, and everybody on the committee really cares about that. You may have a beef, and it's kind of easy to find out if you just have a beef against your neighbor or not, or if it's a bigger issue than that. So I just highly recommend that even if you don't want to testify, come up and watch a committee meeting. Come up and watch a session and sit in the gallery on a Wednesday and get a feel for what it's like up there and what happens and how it's run. So it's fascinating, believe me. Okay. Letters to the editor. That's another way, a very important way that you can advocate. Address one topic in a letter. Be concise. If you want your opinion to be respected, write with respect. If you don't, there's plenty of letters that the Telegraph has published that are not respectful, and you read them hopefully saying, oh, this guy just has a beef, you know. And also send a letter to all relevant media. Not just because you send one to the Telegraph doesn't mean you can't send one to the union leader and the others and blah, 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 and cover all your bases, and maybe you'll get more people to advocate the same way. But this is pretty powerful, and the letters are also on the media's websites, so it's not just the readers who read the paper. So this is always good to do.
Suzanne, what website is that?
Oh, like the Telegraph website.
Yeah, but then you can respond or talk about an issue. You know what I mean?
Oh, then you could comment. Sure, you can comment online, yeah, to someone's letter. Yeah. I mean, that's just advocating. And some of the conversations are pretty, not the kind of stuff you want to hear up in Concord, but anyway. Other avenues for advocacy. Well, we've talked about government, but there's other ways to do it. Join an advocacy group. And these are just some groups that came to mind when I was putting this together. AARP, the Alliance for Retired Americans, a union group, the Sierra Club, a political party. There's so many advocacy groups. And if you have an issue, maybe you've been a heart patient. You want to get involved with the American Heart Association somehow. Maybe you want to do something with the Red Cross. There's all sorts of ways to get involved that have a meaning for you personally with the issues that you're passionate about. Volunteer, Nashua Soup Kitchen, Adult Learning Center. I did that years ago, actually shortly after I moved to New Hampshire. I got involved with the Adult Learning Center. I was tutoring in English as a second language and in reading, tutoring adults. And it's something that gives back a whole lot more than what you give. So volunteering is a way to advocate. Also, check the scheduled discussions on radio talk shows. You can always find out in advance what the talk show is going to program that day, and you might want to call in and give someone a piece of your mind, who's ever the guest. It's another way of advocating. But again, always with respect. Have notes when you call in, because the one thing, like I listen to Diane Rehm a lot, I love her, I love the show, but every once in a while someone manages to just ramble on and I change the station. Okay. Show up. Participate in a protest. I'm not saying go get yourself arrested. I'm just saying, hey, there's a million little protests going on all the time, different reasons, little issues, big issues. It might be taxes, it might be the war, it might be, guns, it might be anything. But I was up at the State House, a couple of months ago. There were a couple of thousand people who came and Shirley, you were there, I think, yeah. We were there a couple of months ago, and there were a couple of thousand on the lawn of the State House protesting what was going on in the legislature. And there were all sorts of different groups there. I was with a group that was advocating for more treatment for drug and alcohol addiction. So I was on the Governor's Council on that issue for 4 years, and that's become an issue very near and dear to me. So, attend meetings, speak up, go to the Board of Aldermen, hearings in Concord, the Planning Board, candidate meetings, your group of choice. I am on the Nashua Conservation Commission, and ordinarily people, your average citizen doesn't show up to see what's going on. But the other day, we had a group of citizens come in, just like years ago when I was involved in the Walmart issue. A group of us would keep coming to the Conservation Commission meetings and speak up about how we felt about that. And this week we heard from very well-informed people about this little piece of land that's involved in the Pennachuck sale. And there were people who had some very strong feelings about that piece of land getting developed. That's the kind of thing. You could find out what's happening at the various commission meetings or committee meetings on all these websites, the different levels of government. So attend. You don't have to speak up, but if you can, that's great. And finally, bird dog a candidate. What does that mean? Okay, here's a politician saying blah, blah, blah. And here's you being nice, saying whatever. This is a definition of bird dogging taken from Wikipedia. It's following a candidate from speaking engagement to speaking engagement to, whether it's during the election season or not, if they're just having a town hall during the regular course of events, or if it's during election season. A lot of people bird dog. They don't just show up. They ask questions. Why did you vote this way? Or why don't you vote this way? Or whatever. And someone who's a bird dog has made it their business to do this. And really, they study how this elected official is voting. Usually a bird dog is not in lockstep with the candidate. There's no reason to bird dog someone you're in lockstep with. It's usually the other way around. It's someone you're not agreeing with. But I just urge you to always be polite. We've seen enough of the opposite. Okay, last slide. Why should you advocate? Because your voice matters for the next generation, all of our grandchildren, and the one after that, to fully participate in your community, whether it's local, state, or federal. To be part of the solution. Like I said, you don't have to have the answers, but you can be part of finding them. And ultimately, because seniors count. Questions? June.
As a ward worker, seniors are the people who come out and vote. It's the young people that I think our seniors need to remind that their vote counts too. We in Ward 7, obviously we've got Revere College and we do get them, but basically you can tell the time of the day that the seniors are coming out from the Hunt Building, Sullivan Terrace, and things like that. Seniors do get out and vote. They may not do all these other things, which is important, but I think as seniors we need to remind our children and our grandchildren that voting is very important, because I think they forget that. They look at politics and kind of...
I agree. It's important for seniors to encourage and educate their grandkids and whatever younger people they're dealing with and have relationships with, and encourage them to vote and participate. Thank you. Harvey.
Thanks. Just to tag on to what this lady said, seniors in our society today are considered wise with a lot of wisdom. And when you show up and a politician is doing anything, he gets scared. You can scare the heck out of him. And writing letters to the editor, sometimes we think that, it doesn't really matter. But if you think about it, the editor is sitting in his seat, and he gets 100 letters from different people. He's going to read those letters, and he's going to read what you say. And believe me, seniors are influential in our society, and we need you. We need you right now.
Thank you. Seniors are important, and I think every elected politician knows that, especially at the federal level. I think, you know, showing up and having a voice, being part of the solution, even if you're on the other side of the final solution, doesn't matter. But having a voice means you're part of our society, you're part of our democracy. You're not just a couch potato citizen, and I'm just using that term, but whether it's working for a candidate, that's another thing, really working for a candidate of your choice. There's so many things to do on a campaign, whether it's local, state, federal. There's always a place for everybody. And there are just so many ways. I mean, there's nothing I said today that you don't know, really. It's just taking the step to make your voice heard and not be silent in our society. Yes?
Perhaps educating yourself a little bit about the issues. Don't just believe what you hear on one TV station or another and go out there because without knowing what you're really advocating.
That's true. That's true. You could say, oh, well, I believe this, and then you find out, oh, the facts I got are not right. And you could follow this new PolitiFact in the Telegraph, and it's online too on their website. When a candidate says something, and they're doing this on the national level, when a candidate says something that's sort of questionable, they'll really check it out. It's not the Telegraph. It's an independent group that really checks out the facts of what the candidates are saying. And they have this meter saying, you know, pants on fire, or, you know, fully true. Yep.
Hi, I'm Jean Marco, and I'm the Executive Director here at the Center. And first I want to say your presentation was excellent. But the second part I want to say, having been involved as an advocate for years and years with the Breast Cancer Coalition, which is one of the most successful grassroots advocacy groups in the country, I think that the messages that you said that I think are really, really important are to stay focused, to bird dog people, and to be really polite and develop relationships.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bird dogging, be polite, know your issues, absolutely know both sides, so you can, if you know, if you need to argue with someone or give your side, you know what you're talking about. So, you know, and issues, sometimes they change over time, but for the most part, I think just keep abreast of what's happening. And again, I'll repeat that sometimes what happens in Concord affects our daily lives more than what happens in DC. And I want to thank June Karen for coming. She's been in the house with me. Harvey Key has been in the house at a different time. And Diane, thank you very much for coming. If you have questions on the aldermanic level, ask Diane. And thank you. And I hope I've given you a lot of information, a lot of places to source out. There's also, we all get this up in Concord. This is a little cartoon version of how a bill is passed up in Concord. It's complicated, but this kind of makes it easy. And the other side is a primer on the process, so it'll give you a good understanding of what happens. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much.
Great job. Thank you.
And I too want to say thank you for coming. I hope, like I said in the beginning, you're leaving with more information than you started with. I really appreciate and thank Suzanne for coming here today. And I also want to just let you know that this is a monthly series, and we already have one scheduled for October. It's not going to be on the second Monday of the month. It's going to be on this second Tuesday of the month, October 11th, because the 10th is Columbus Day and the center here is closed. But the subject is going to be getting ready for winter as far as special tips that you might need to know as a senior to prepare for the inclement weather so you can stay safe and warm. So I do invite you to come to that. And again, thank you. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you very much.